So somebody who knows him told me, and I should be initially getting your take on this, that getting COVID emasculated him. It changed him. It feminized him. It weakened him as a man. Do you think that's...
Well, I think he was very seriously ill.
Oh, for sure he was.
And I mean, one of the things we have learned from COVID is people who are 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds overweight tend to have fared very badly.
Sure.
Now, we don't talk about it much.
But the virus itself, this is true, does tend to take away the life force in some people, I notice. I mean, it does feminize people. No one ever says that, but it's true.
This guy has one of the top rated shows on American cable news. This man just said that the COVID-19 virus will make you feminine. Now, what does it do for women, Tucker? I mean, let's go all the way down the rabbit hole here, okay? What did it, anyway?
Essentially, you have registered nurses. And we have data on fairly large numbers of registered nurses, black and white. And the difference in mean IQ between the two of those is a dozen IQ points, which is a lot. It means you have a whole lot of extremely able black nurses. You have some incompetent white nurses, but it does mean you have a difference in job performance. And that's eventually going to be reflected in income as well. It's going to be reflected in the nature of their careers and the nature of how they end up. These are all differences which are driven not by irrational racism. They are driven by day-to-day realities of job performance and the responses of supervisors to job performances and the demands of the market.
Now, if this sounds familiar, let me remind you who popularized this doctrine. It was the KKK, the Ku Klux Klans. They popularized this doctrine that basically taught that people of color are inferior intellectually. They also taught that women are intellectually inferior to white men. And by the way, Murray teaches the exact same thing. Southern Poverty Law Center said, according to Murray, disadvantaged groups are disadvantaged because on average, they cannot compete with white men who are intellectually, psychologically, and morally superior. Now, you would imagine that Tucker Carlson, even though he's a right-wing extremist, he would have some level of comeback. Here's Tucker Carlson's response to all of that garbage you just heard. Nothing. That was literally his response. He actually just looked, said nothing, and the guy kept talking.
And it breaks my heart that my kids are being taught that skin color matters. And to me, if you want white people to step up, I was stepping up when I addressed the school and said, why are we having these picnics for families of color? Why are we separating our kids? If the world is integrated, let's continue that and have everyone find out what we all have in common, not just what we have in common with people who look like us.
That's Michelle Tafoya, who was a sports reporter for NBC Sports. She has now left her high-profile job that paid a lot of money in order to be a full-time racist. I mean, a full-time anti-CRT person. So she left her job because she can't believe that her child is being taught critical race theory in school. Well, guess what, Michelle? Your child is not being taught critical race theory. Critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education. Once again, it is an advanced theoretical framework taught at advanced collegiate studies as a analysis, a tool to properly contextualize data and provide research conclusions. Is not taught to K through 12 students.